What's up everyone, Matt again with the Maya Learning Channel, and today I want to talk a little bit about using AI-generated meshes inside of Maya via Autodesk Flow Studio. AI generation is an ideal way to create quick, placeholder geometry for blocking or previs, such as when building a rough animatic for a shot, or filling out a video game prototype. You can also use it to lay a foundation on which to build something higher fidelity, rather than always starting from an empty scene. To access it, click on the Flow Studio button inside of Maya to open Flow Studio in a browser. Then create a new project. In addition to the mocap animation options, you can now generate meshes from prompts or images. This is as easy as just entering a prompt or uploading an image and clicking a button. Flow Studio will generate multiple variations, which you can examine and choose from. Upon choosing one, you can specify things like the number of vertices, topology style, and even generate placeholder textures. Then once Flow Studio is finished generating, it's just a matter of choosing the file format that works for your pipeline and importing the downloaded file into Maya. Now I want to stress that this AI was not designed to replace you as the artist. Think of it more as a stepping stone that, when used properly, you can use to get a little bit of a head start rather than having to start from scratch. But as with all AIs, the quality of that head start has a lot to do with the input that you feed it. So to help with that, here's my list of the best do's and don'ts when it comes to working with Maya and Flow Studio. Do: be specific about details that are important to you when crafting a prompt. AIs by their nature respond better to a design spec than poetic descriptions. You can even list details without using full sentences, which is a great way to squeeze the most content into your character limit. Consider including technical details too, like desired lengths and widths, whether an object should be symmetrical or not, or even things like watertight mesh with no non-manifold edges. Don't try to create extremely complex, multi-part objects in a single prompt. This is a surefire way to get melded geometry that you can't use without a ton of cleanup first. Think about how you intend to use the final result, then prompt the AI for each component separately to avoid geometry bridges in places that you don't want. You can then assemble them in Maya after. A trick when doing this is to use inclusive language more than exclusive. AIs use predictive models to build geometry, which makes them much better at building things piece by piece rather than taking away pieces from something that's already finished. Do: if creating a character you intend to rig, try to get it as close to a T or A pose as possible. As mentioned earlier, treat these as a design spec by using language like arms extended 90 degrees from the body. You can even include that you intend to rig the character in Maya. Don't worry if your bind pose isn't perfect, because it's a trick you can use in Human IK to quickly make it perfect. Click the link on your screen if you'd like to see that. Don't be afraid to try again. Working with AI, whether it's Flow Studio, ChatGPT, or any other model out there, is more of a dialogue than traditional one-way tools. If Flow Studio doesn't give you a satisfactory result on the first try, you can try regenerating using a different seed value to produce different results. If that still doesn't work, you can use reuse prompt to go back to your original prompt, then make some tweaks to improve the outcome. AI by its nature is an iterative process rather than a simple one and done. Do: use image generation as a way to better visualize objects before converting them to 3D. When going from text to 3D, it can be difficult to see all the little details in the untextured previews Flow Studio displays, especially on smaller monitors. You can use image generation as an interim step to help with visualization before going full 3D. Flow Studio even gives you the option to immediately use the image to generate geometry once you're happy with it. A couple of tips here. If generating a character, try to keep them in a standard T or A pose, just like before. Conversely, if you're generating a prop, try to keep the perspective to a 3/4 shot. This gives Flow Studio the most visual information to work with when generating geometry from the obscured sides. You can also try copying and pasting your original prompt in text to 3D, rather than directly using the image itself, since this can help get around the single perspective issues that sometimes arise using photos. And finally, don't assume that geometry from Flow Studio is immediately production ready. Don't think of AI as something that can shortcut you all the way to the finish line. Instead, think of it as more of a time saver, something you can use to skip the monotony of starting from absolutely nothing. With a good prompt or starting image, you can even get 60 to 70% of the way to a good result. But unless you're only using the mesh for previs, there will almost always be things to fix or artistic changes to be made. In particular, pay close attention to areas where things that should be separate end up close together, like fingers or clothing and skin or wheels and wheel wells. AI has a habit of bridging these areas. It's also a good idea to take a look at the overall edge and UV flow to make sure it'll work with whatever deformations you have in mind. If not, remember that you can use Flow Retopo to quickly retopologize a mesh into something more usable. So those are my tips for working with AI-generated models in Maya, but I think the most important thing is to remember that AI is just a tool. As long as you have that mindset, you'll have no problem making it work for you. And for all other things AI related inside of Maya, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Until next time.